Wait, stop! Before you book your dream trip to Asia, watch this first. Last week, I was seconds away from booking a $3,000 flight when a notification hit my phone. Entry denied. My American passport, the one I thought could take me anywhere, suddenly wasn't enough. And I'm not alone. In 2026, 7 Asian countries are making it extremely difficult, or even impossible, for US tourists to enter. Some reasons will shock you, some will anger you, and one might honestly break your heart. But there's something they're not telling you. There are ways around it. Let's get into it. Country number 1, North Korea. Okay, let's start with the obvious one, but with a twist you probably don't know: North Korea. Now, you might be thinking, duh, North Korea has always banned Americans. And you're mostly right. Since 2017, US citizens have been prohibited from entering the DPRK after the tragic death of Otto Warmbier. But here's what changed in 2026. The loopholes are closing. Before this year, there were still ways: special journalist visas, humanitarian exemptions. Academic researchers could sometimes get in. But in early 2026, North Korea updated their entry laws, and now, even those rare exceptions are nearly impossible. I spoke to a journalist friend, let's call her Sarah, who's been trying to get approval for 14 months. 14 months. And last month, she got a single-sentence email: request denied indefinitely. The reason? Escalating tensions, failed diplomatic talks, and honestly, a government that's more isolated than ever. Can you still visit? Technically, yes, but you'd need a special validation from the US State Department, which they basically never grant unless you're going for extremely compelling humanitarian reasons. My take? This one hurts because North Korea is one of the most misunderstood places on Earth, but right now, it's virtually sealed off. Let's move to somewhere that might actually surprise you. Number 2, Bhutan. And yes, I can see your confused faces already. Wait, isn't Bhutan the Happy Kingdom? The place with gross national happiness instead of GDP? Exactly. Which is why this one stings. Bhutan isn't technically banning Americans, but they've made it so expensive and restrictive that it might as well be a ban for 90% of us. In 2026, Bhutan raised their sustainable development fee to $200 per person, per day. That's on top of accommodation, flights, and mandatory guide fees. So, a 7-day trip, that's $1,400 just in fees, before you've even eaten a meal. But here's the gut punch. This isn't really about money. Bhutan's government has explicitly stated they want to reduce American tourists specifically because of, and I quote, overconsumption patterns and disrespect for sacred sites. And you know what? I can't even be mad, because they're right. I've seen Americans treat temples like Instagram backdrops. I've watched people ignore dress codes, complain about basic accommodations in a country that's trying to preserve its soul. Bhutan is protecting itself, and honestly, I respect that, even though it breaks my heart. Can you still go? Yes, if you've got deep pockets. But for the average American, Bhutan just became a dream deferred. Number 3 might be the saddest on this list: Myanmar. This isn't about politics or money. This is about safety. After the military coup in 2021, Myanmar descended into chaos. And while the situation has shifted in 2026, it hasn't improved. The US State Department has a level 4 travel advisory: do not travel. But here's what's new. Myanmar is now actively denying visa applications from Americans, citing security concerns. Translation? They don't want US citizens caught in crossfire or becoming political pawns. I met a guy named Tom at an airport last year. He showed me photos from his 2015 trip to Bagan. Thousands of temples at sunrise, local families inviting him for tea, monks blessing travelers. He was crying. Not dramatic sobbing, just quiet tears. Because he knows he'll probably never see it again. At least, not in his lifetime. The reality? Even if you got a visa, you won't. It's genuinely dangerous. Armed conflicts, arbitrary detentions, kidnappings. My advice? Grieve the loss. Support Myanmar's people from afar and pray for peace. This isn't about politics, it's about humanity. Okay, let me take a breath. This next one's going to make some of you angry. Number 4. China. And before the comments explode, let me be crystal clear about what's happening. China hasn't banned American tourists outright, but in 2026, they've made it complicated. Really complicated. Here's what's new. 1. The visa approval rate for American tourists has dropped to about 40%. That means 6 out of 10 applications are getting rejected with zero explanation. 2. Americans who do get approved are facing enhanced screening, restricted travel zones, and in some cases, digital surveillance requirements like mandatory tracking apps. 3. Several provinces, including Tibet and Xinjiang, are now completely off limits to US passport holders without government-approved tour groups. And look, I get it. Geopolitical tensions are high. The US and China aren't exactly sending each other friendship bracelets right now. But the people? The everyday travelers? We're caught in the middle. My friend Jenny, Chinese-American, wanted to visit her grandmother's village, got denied. Twice. The woman just wanted to see where her family came from. Can you visit China in 2026? Maybe. It's like a lottery. Business travelers and organized tour groups have better odds. Solo backpackers? Good luck. Loophole? Hong Kong is still accessible with fewer restrictions, though it's not the same. This one hurts because China is massive, diverse, and historically rich, and right now, it's playing hard to get. Let's talk about number 5. This one shocked even me. Okay, number 5. Turkmenistan. First, let me acknowledge, technically, Turkmenistan is Central Asia, but it's often grouped with Middle Eastern/Asian travel circuits, so we're including it. Now, Turkmenistan has always been weird about tourism. This is a country with a giant golden statue of their former president that rotates to face the sun. They have a burning gas crater called the Door to Hell. It's wonderfully bizarre. But in 2026, they've doubled down. Americans can still apply for tourist visas, but, and this is a big but, you must travel with a government-approved guide at all times. No solo travel, no wandering off, no unapproved conversations with locals. And here's the kicker. Approval times have stretched to 6 to 8 months. I heard of one American who applied in June 2025 and still doesn't have an answer. Why? Paranoia, basically. Turkmenistan's government is incredibly secretive and views Western tourists with suspicion. Can you go? Technically, yes, but expect to pay $150 plus dollars per day for your mandatory guide, wait forever for approval, and have zero freedom once you're there. My hot take? If you're into dystopian tourism and have endless patience, go for it. For everyone else, maybe skip the Door to Hell this year. Number 6. Afghanistan. I almost didn't include this one because it feels obvious, but I included it because Americans keep asking me about it. Let me be absolutely clear. Afghanistan is a level 4. Do not travel. The Taliban-controlled government does not recognize U.S. tourist visas. There is no American embassy. If something goes wrong, you're on your own. And God, that breaks my heart. Because Afghanistan is stunningly beautiful. The kindness of Afghan people, the ones I met before 2021, still lives in my memory. But right now, Americans aren't welcome. Not by policy, not by safety standards. I think about the Afghan guides I worked with, the women who dreamed of running guest houses, the kids who wanted to show tourists their mountains. Can you visit? No, absolutely not. Journalists occasionally get special access, but tourists? No. What can you do? Support Afghan refugees. Donate to humanitarian organizations. Keep their stories alive. This isn't a travel restriction, it's a tragedy, and we honor it by acknowledging it. Now, number 7. This is the one that went viral last month. Number 7. The Maldives. Yes, you heard that right. The Maldives. The honeymoon capital, the overwater bungalows, the place Americans spend tens of thousands of dollars to visit. In January 2026, the Maldivian government announced a new environmental protection visa that adds a $500 fee per person for tourists from high carbon footprint nations. And guess who's at the top of that list? The United States. But wait, there's more. They've also capped the number of American visitors to 50,000 per year, total, for the entire country. Do you know how many Americans visited the Maldives in 2024? Over 150,000. They've cut it by 2/3. Why? Climate change. The Maldives is literally sinking. And their government, fairly or unfairly, is blaming high-consumption Western tourism. And here's where I have mixed feelings. Because on one hand, I get it. Americans do have a massive carbon footprint. Climate change is an existential threat to the Maldives. On the other hand, blanket punishing tourists feels like, I don't know, misplaced anger? Can you still go? Yes, if you book early, pay the $500 fee, and get lucky in the visa lottery. Celebrities and ultra-wealthy tourists aren't affected because they charter private everything. My take? The Maldives is making a statement. Whether it's fair or not is up for debate, but it's real, and Americans are feeling it. All right, let's bring this home. So there you have it. 7 Asian countries making it harder or impossible for Americans to visit in 2026. And look, I'm not going to lie to you. When I started researching this video, I felt frustrated, defensive even. Like, why are we being singled out? But then I sat with it, really sat with it, and I realized maybe this is a wake-up call. Maybe we need to ask ourselves, Are we respectful travelers? Do we consume responsibly? Do we understand that our presence has impact? Environmental, cultural, political. Because here's the truth. The world doesn't owe us access. Travel is a privilege, not a right. And if countries are closing their doors, maybe we need to look in the mirror. But, and this is important, not all Americans are the problem. Many of us travel with intention, respect, humility, and there are still so many incredible places that welcome us. Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, Singapore, the Philippines. So here's my challenge to you. If you're planning to travel in 2026, travel better. Learn some local phrases. Support small businesses. Leave places better than you found them. Be the traveler that makes countries want to keep their doors open. If this video helped you, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want more honest travel content. And drop a comment. Have you been affected by any of these restrictions? What countries are you visiting in 2026? Travel is about connection. And even when doors close, windows open. We just have to be willing to climb through with respect. I'll see you in the next one. Stay curious, friends. Oh, and real quick, if you want a full breakdown of visa requirements, travel hacks, and alternative destinations, I've put together a free guide. Links in the description. Also, I'm doing a live Q&A next week about navigating travel restrictions. Set a reminder so you don't miss it. All right, now I'll see you next time. Safe travels!